Hello there my friends, recently I've attempted another model show and the victory prizes weren't all that excellent since I didn't really place on that good of a place, but I think we can try and make something really interesting with these two little models and perhaps learn how to build and paint planes before getting into the really cool ones I showed in a previous video. So let's get right into building. Now these models are really under detailed as these are simple Zvezda wargaming models, but I just rescribe some flaps on them just so they are a little more pronounced and I build them as they are because I really don't know what I'm doing. I haven't built planes in ages. I did build the P-51 that I won in the previous model show, but you know, I wanna try making these ones better and then learning what to do with the Chmelak that I'm really excited for and I don't wanna screw it up. The assembly is therefore really straightforward. It's a snap together kit, but I still use some Revel cement for gluing parts together. Here you can see both of the planes glued together. The IL-2 is quite larger, and now we're gonna focus on it for a little bit. I decided to make it the losing vehicle in my Dogfight diorama that I wanna do with this. So I try to imitate some bullet holes and damage and also a cut-off wing from the airplane by just stabbing it and cutting it and whatever is needed. Now it's time to paint the model. I forgot to clean it beforehand and it'll become a problem later on, but for now I use diluted Russian uniform green from Vallejo as the base color for the vehicle. I layer it on in several layers to get a nice uniform layer. And here I realized what kind of a mistake I actually made. These models were probably sitting for quite a long time on someone's shelf, someone from the model club that was making the model show, so they were quite dusty and kind of like just not good for painting on right away. And as I was layering on the paint on both of them, the brush was just scraping off the previous paint because it wouldn't stick onto the model. I did paint them essentially at the same time, so I didn't fix this issue on the Messerschmitt, but later on I just used varnish so the paint stays on. And I tried to use some masking tape to mask off the green areas from the blue underside. However, as expected, the mask just tore the paint off on the parts that I put it on. Again, I should have used the varnish. It's a learning experience, and I am building this, also the P-51, so I can be good enough at planes that I actually wanna start building planes as much as I build tanks, because you know I don't do this all that often. The lower part of the airplane was painted with light blue, and when I tore the masking tape off, it tore some of the green off. But on this model it wasn't as bad because it's meant to be damaged. It's meant to be burning in flames, engulfed in smoke falling to the ground in the diorama, which I think I achieved at the end. Since the model isn't all that detailed because it's a wargaming model, etc, etc, I just covered it completely with brown wash from Vallejo game wash range. And you know, usually you would clean the wash and keep it only around the details, but there are none here, so I just kept it everywhere and it kind of made an interesting effect on such a small model. And then I painted all of the details like the propeller and also the wheels. And then I gave the model a dry brush with black to create a burning effect around the wing and also around exhausts and stuff like that, just so the model looks properly damaged, like it was riddled with holes from an enemy aircraft, and to hide my mistakes with paint. Also dry brush with silver to create chipped areas. Planes don't chip into rusty color. This is something new from usual armored models that I build. The next model I'm gonna do though is gonna be actually probably rustier than any armor models I've ever done. I'll see. Here's the finished IL-2. I don't think I'm too happy about it, but I've been praised about this diorama, so I guess you'll be the judge of how this looks. Then the same steps were applied on the Messerschmitt. I applied the masking tape at first this time because I thought at that time that the masking tape was the problem and it was tearing the color off, but then I realized it really wasn't. So I just took it off and covered the entire model in varnish and then painted on that varnish, which ended up being the best idea. But next time, just wash your models with soapy water, don't be like me. And yeah, here I found my newly acquired skills of painting stuff very precisely from camouflages on tanks, and I painted the entire Messerschmitt camouflage with various shades of greens and blues. The first green shade that I used for the camouflage was a little too brownish and light, so I went over it later with darker green. There are actually little stands with the airplanes from Zvezda because they're meant to look like flying on the gaming table, and this was really useful for painting the models, but the Messerschmitt didn't have the stand even though it's supposed to, and I blame basically the age of the model and the fact that it was probably sitting in someone's stash for ages. The box was completely crushed and I'm surprised no parts were actually damaged, but I still really enjoyed building these even though I'm not particularly happy with the result. Messerschmitts have these little dots on the blue. I painted those with diluted color to give this airbrushed, not perfectly look. I'm not sure if that really worked, but it's a tiny scale, I suppose. And then I started painting the yellow parts. I realized yellow is really hard to paint when layered with diluted color. So this is gonna make the Chmelak really fun. Also, if the Chmelak isn't a total disaster and I actually enjoy building planes, well, I already do, and I am thinking about continuing this, and if you would like to see that, just stick around, but I'll definitely do a better Messerschmitt in the future. I applied the decals using ordinary water, and then I went over them with flat varnish. Because they were falling off as well, it was as if they lost all of their stickability and they kind of just existed in this liminal space of not sticking onto paint. And then I applied a wash across the entire vehicle to make it somewhat dirty and somewhat more interesting texture-wise again. As I've said, if this was a better detailed model, it would have had panel lines and stuff like that, and I probably just should have rescribed them, but you know, it is what it is. And then I just dry brushed the model with according paints on according areas to pick off some of the details. And then I gave it a silver dry brush as well. And then it was time for the tiny simple diorama for this model. I just cut out a little square of ordinary styrene and kind of just decided on the general setup with a wire. This isn't gonna be that complicated of a diorama, more like an interesting test. I covered the ground with ground paste from ammo. You could paint this, but this time I didn't. I really didn't know if this would look good, and I should have put more effort into it. I just put on some tuff onto it, hoping it would create an effect of trees in the background or something, and then I applied the planes and glued them on with super glue. The IL2 didn't really stick and it ended up falling onto the ground, so it looks like it's already crashed, not in middle of crashing, but that's okay. Then I just applied some cosmetic tampon. I just tore it off and I glued it onto the parts that I wanted it with ordinary PVA glue to create smoke effect. And that's gonna be it for this diorama. I really hope you enjoyed this little test video. I don't think I really helped you with learning anything about planes, because I am the one learning with them as well, but I quite enjoyed it. I'm not sure how I like this diorama, so you know, tell me in the comments what you think about it. If you like this video and you would like to support me, you can do so through Patreon or through Ko-fi. You can also subscribe so you don't miss out on future projects. I have very interesting projects, one of them being the Z37, as I've mentioned several times through this video. And probably next week we're gonna go to the high seas. So thank you again for watching. Here's the presentation of the tiny diorama, and I'll see you next week.